I'm Susan Reno, Executive Director of the Center for Advancing Research Impact in Society, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the very first ever virtual ARIS Awards ceremony. Today, we will honor our ARIS Award winners, our ARIS Fellows, and our Organizational Research Impact Capacity Building Program institutions. We're also excited to honor our second class of Broader Impacts champions. Thank you for joining us and enjoy the program.
Hello, I'm Jory Weintraub, and I'm a member of the ARIS leadership team, as well as the ARIS training team. It's my great pleasure today to introduce the ORIC program, a newly created program within ARIS, and acknowledge the wonderful folks who participated in the pilot run of this program over the last year. I'm also very excited to announce and introduce the institutions and individuals who have been recently selected for the next ORIC cohort. But before I do that, let me take a moment to tell you what ORIC is. ORIC stands for Organizational Research Impact Capacity, and the idea was to assemble a cohort of 5 institutions or organizations and work with them closely over the course of a year to provide training, mentoring, community building, and access to resources. By the end of that year, it was our hope that we would have helped each institution to build or strengthen their own internal capacity to support research impacts work. As an aside, I will be running a session tomorrow, Wednesday, May 12th, from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, where we'll talk a lot more about ORIC, share some of the evaluation data from our pilot study, and give you a chance to hear directly from some of the pilot participants. So I hope you'll be able to attend that session and possibly be inspired to apply to be a part of a future ORIC cohort. We started our pilot of this program about a year ago with 5 institutions that I'll mention in just a moment. It's important to point out that we really viewed the pilot institutions not just as participants, but as partners who would help us shape the program, give us feedback, tell us what worked, and more importantly, what we weren't doing well enough. I have to say that I could not have asked for better partners. So with that, I'd like to congratulate and thank the following members of our ORIC pilot. From Michigan State University, Miles McNair, Shobha Ramanand, Marianne Walker, and Lori Van Eegeren. From Purdue University, Rod Williams and Steve Abel. From the University of California at Berkeley, Dee Rossiter and Francis Hellman. From the University of Idaho, Nancy Holmes and Carly Cummings. And from the University of Nebraska, Jocelyn Bosley and Nathan Meyer. To all of you, thank you so much for all you've done, and congratulations on completing the program. We're excited to watch the ways that we know you'll continue to expand and improve RI efforts at your institutions in the future. And of course, as one cohort graduates, another matriculates. Having learned a lot and made great strides throughout the pilot study, we are really excited to introduce our incoming cohort. From Mississippi State University, Kristen Sendelweck, Carmen Giles, Ashley Joyner, and Stephanie Heitch. From Northern Illinois University, Amy Jo Clemens and Gerald Blasey. From The Ohio State University, Courtney Price and Ryan Schmeisen. From the University of California at Merced, Melinda Bain, Kelly Volkovich, and Marjorie Zatz. And from the University of Vermont, Heidi Malaby, Matt Sayer, and Christopher Kalita. And we've decided to add an international perspective to this incoming cohort by also inviting Priscilla Daniels, Pearl September Brown, and Cornell Hart from the University of Western Cape in South Africa to participate in this cohort as well. We have great expectations for this wonderful group, and we welcome all of you to ORIC. So once again, I just want to congratulate all of the members of our pilot cohort for completing the program and thank them all for their hard work and invaluable contributions to making the pilot such a success. To the incoming cohort, get ready to roll up your sleeves and get to work, because I'm really looking forward to working with all of you over the next year and acknowledging all of you at this graduation ceremony at next year's summit. Again, I hope to see all of you at our ORIC session tomorrow from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the summer.
Hello, ARIS community. I'm Julie Rizian, she, her. I'm Associate Director of the Oregon State University STEM Research Center, and it has been my honor over the last 3 years to lead the ARIS Fellows program. The Fellows program was conceived as a way to leverage the unparalleled skill and experiences of the ARIS community, of you, to generate practical and evidence-based tools and resources that directly support the work that you all do to advance research impacts. ARIS Fellows are an incredible group of professionals, researchers, faculty members, educators, graduate students, science communicators, evaluators, and artists, and even comedians. They represent a range of disciplines such as environmental sciences, education, neuroscience, chemistry, anthropology, global studies, research development, English, agriculture, history, public health, ecology, and more. One thing that they share in common is a desire and a motivation to help others in this community. They put the energy in and apply their collective expertise to develop scholarship and open source resources that you can use to develop your own research impacts activity and support others in doing so. The program includes a competitive proposal process, and awardees come together in a peer learning community for about 14 months to refine the trajectory of their work, support collaborative learning, test and improve the resources that they create, and work together to share the results of their labor. If you're interested in becoming a fellow someday, look for a call for applications next summer. It's my quick and shameless plug. And of course, the resources that the fellows create become available on researchandsociety.org as they're completed. We really look forward to the next couple of years of continuing to curate these valuable resources. They're great assets in the ARIS community, and the fellows themselves are wonderful ambassadors for our community. Working with the ARIS Fellows is a true joy and a highlight of my own professional path. It's a pleasure and honor to support the fellows in their work and to recognize their work here today. Thank you so much.
I've really enjoyed and appreciated getting to meet folks who approach research impact and public engagement from really dramatically different lenses. I feel like every time I meet and learn about work that somebody else is doing, my horizons expand, and I very much appreciate that opportunity to learn and grow.
I really enjoyed getting to meet people who are doing this work and to think more critically about all of that work together.
We all sort of share a real common interest in this idea of broader impacts and societal impacts and harnessing research in those directions. But we're all coming at it from different perspectives and different expertise.
And what's nice is we get to collaborate with other science artists that are also ARIS Fellows that can provide us valuable input on how to formulate this work into a way that is easily understandable for the researcher themselves and provides significant guidance without telling them exactly what to do.
One part of the fellowship that I'd say I've enjoyed the most has been dedicating time and energy towards interviewing people in the broader impacts arena who are doing work I really admire.
And so I think if we're going to tackle these big issues of our time, we absolutely need to understand how we can develop better communication, better networks, better back and forth communication between research communities and public communities, public audiences. I think it's absolutely fundamental. And making sure our conversation is inclusive. And so it has been incredible to get an opportunity to connect with so many people across the country that are doing this work.
A very rich broader impact plan takes account the voices of our participants, their ways of knowing, their ways of living in their communities, and solves their community problems. So as we become success advancing our mission with broader impact of research, we become successful in advancing solutions for the problems our communities face.
There's a way that I think academics imagine the impact that their work has in the world, but unless we really, apply a research lens to understanding if and how that's happening, we don't really know that we're having an impact in society.
In whatever field, they're not two separate identities. They can be one. And actually, when they are one, it really enhances the environment. It enhances innovation, and it allows us as a society to be better served and move forward.
The science itself and the broader impacts are not separate things in a project, right? They're integrated and they both are equally important.
Using this work to shift, even just the idea of what it means to do science and what it means to be an academic, I think that would be another important change that this work could bring about.
We're seeing that younger generation, those early career scholars, want to do this kind of engaged and impactful work. That's why they are coming to graduate school now. They see what's happening and they really want to be active parts of the solution. So we're bringing in a whole generation of scientists who want to be able to do this work.
Research impacts society, and we need to be better at helping our researchers developing their broader impact identity so that we have meaningful partnerships and meaningful programs that can advance and solve problems, immediate problems in our local communities.
Just been really grateful for being able to enter a space that's been a little different from my normal background, and have been so welcomed into that community. And I think that's been really a joy to see, and I'm really grateful for that.
We have a deep sense of gratitude for being able to do this type of work. It's relatively rare that professional staff in university settings really have this type of deeply rooted opportunity. It really enabled us to take a step that I don't think that we would have had the opportunity to take before. So I feel a lot of deep gratitude because it feels like there's been a lot of personal impact for me by participating in the fellowship.
We're at this incredibly exciting time in thinking about research impacts and thinking about community and public engagement. And I'm so grateful to have a community here within the ARIS Fellowship to be able to advance this work at such a critical time.
What a great experience it has been to be a fellow. It's a wonderful group of people. I love being connected to the ARIS community now. It's a supportive and joyful place to engage with folks. So it's really been a fabulous year.
All right, now to the fun part. 2019 Fellows, thank you so much for your service to this community and for being co-designers of the Fellows program during the first and pilot year of the program. We did not have the chance to honor you at the first virtual version of the summit in 2020, and I am pleased to do so now. Nalini Nadkarni and Caitlin Weber from the University of Utah, along with Kat Stalinsky from the University of Maryland College Park, conducted a field review to understand how scientists, specifically ecologists, communicate about their public engagement activities through the peer-reviewed disciplinary literature. Their results called for continued public engagement in ecology, and they offer this community a framework so that others may explore the same phenomena in other disciplines. Jeannie Garbarino is Science Director at Rock EDU Science Outreach. Kyle Marion Viterbo is a scientist, freelancer, comedian, and science programming producer. Together, they developed and piloted a process for capturing and showcasing examples of high-quality, context-specific outreach programs and projects. They provide these templates as a guide to inclusive outreach. Bernie Connors is a biologist at Dominican College. She created a guiding document to enable more STEM offerings for persons with disabilities. This tool is especially helpful for those navigating this process at small institutions and two-year colleges that do not have well-developed resources to support STEM engagement for persons with disabilities. Amelia Bachelet at the Institute for Learning and Brain Sciences at University of Washington is a science communicator. She created an infographic resource to help researchers brainstorm and develop high-impact, broader impact activities. This resource is a great entry point for rich conversation between BI professionals and scientists or engineers exploring the breadth of BI options. Rachel Yoho is a clinical faculty, environmental and global health at the University of Florida. She compiled a multimedia resource for educators and researchers in the form of an easily accessible synthesis of relevant literature for teaching ambiguous concepts and a compilation of research and evidence-based teaching recommendations focused on how we use and misuse disciplinary lexicons in ways that may exclude learners. Heatherlyn Uphold is a researcher at the Flint Center for Health Equity Solutions at Michigan State University. She studies the ways to translate research into practice, and her ARIS Fellows project examined the current dissemination methods used in Flint, Michigan by health sciences researchers. Her work establishes a baseline understanding of the types of tools and practices that are currently used and projects what is needed to optimize community-level use of and benefits from health sciences research. 2019 Fellows, you are the pioneers. Thank you for your fearless engagement and experimentation, even with the significant disruption of the pandemic. You have set the bar for the Fellows program to thrive far into the future. Thank you so much. The 2020 ARIS Fellows are currently wrapping up and sharing their projects. You can anticipate engaging with their work over the coming months, and many of them are participating in the summit and actively sharing their work here. This energetic group persisted and thrived through our collective realization that the tragedy of the COVID-19 pandemic may change the norms of broader impacts practices permanently. They responded by shifting their approaches and developing adaptable tools and resources that will accommodate our many possible shared futures. I'm so pleased to celebrate their work with you. Elise Auerbach is a scientist and public engagement professional, and Ellen Kuhn is a historian and museum professional. They are from the Center for Academic Innovation at the University of Michigan. Elise and Ellen developed a toolkit that promotes understanding and adoption of an existing framework that describes similarities and differences across the many forms of public engagement. Their work supports researchers and public engagement professionals to develop intentional and thoughtful partnerships and situate their work in the larger public engagement ecosystem. Gigi Owen and Allison Meadows are social scientists at the University of Arizona-based center called Climate Assessment for the Southwest. They created a seminal, comprehensive guiding document to help natural and physical scientists working on climate change issues to navigate broader impacts design, partnerships, and evaluation. Barbara Burke is a now retired research development professional, and Patrick Corbett is an educator and scholar in rhetoric and composition. The team conducted their work at New York City College of Technology. Their Fellows project synthesizes the history of and critical barriers created by the Minority Serving Institution Designation, or MSI. They are working to generate an institutional level guide to support designated MSIs and funding organizations to expand and grow pathways for research impacts in the specific context of each individual institution. Sophie Pierzalowski and Thaddeus Buser are both researchers and practitioners in the Pacific Northwest. They are supporting the next generation of researchers through undergraduate research programs. They have created a monograph and an interactive web-based tool for training undergraduate research mentors in inclusive practice. This resource includes a comprehensive synthesis of the research on mentoring and is grounded in extensive experiences from practice, offering real-life scenarios to contextualize learning. Sarah Olson is at the Lawrence Hall of Science at UC Berkeley, and Natasha Wingerter is an agricultural research from the University of Idaho. They have created an easy-to-use toolbox for scientists and K-12 educators to co-create high-quality learning experiences. The collection of customizable exercises and practices provides concrete guidance to build understanding across these two very different types of professional roles. 2020 Fellows, thank you for all you have done and all you will do. You have provided such wonderful examples of how to integrate research and practice, and you have done so with an incredible level of intellectual humility. It has been my joy through a somewhat dreary year to get to engage with you in our community of practice. Finally, I'm pleased to announce the 2021 Fellows who are just embarking on their work. Susan Rowe is working on an introduction to successful K-12 broader impacts planning and e-learning pathways. Jas Bhattacharya and Dan Steinberg are working on engaging STEM faculty by shaping scientists' impact identities with outreach with blind and visually impaired communities. Christine Liu and Tara Johnson are working on a handbook to foster the success of BIPOC STEM graduate students. Karen Peterman and Allison Blackmare are working on a needs assessment for documenting research impacts at scale. Sarah Stanlick and Catherine Fu are working on guidance for realizing full participation in research through responsive, community-engaged practices and institutional change mechanisms. Travis Tangent and Christina Swartz are working on Guiding Voices for Inclusive Impact. It's a publication for supporting community voice in broader impacts development. Natalie Wolfram is developing a toolkit for co-designing research impacts with community advisory groups. Eunice Talil and Kathy Chen are working on scenario analysis in workforce development, developing opportunities for research impacts through workforce development. Chelsea Boudou and Daniel Puentes are offering guidance documents for achieving broader impacts through community art. You can look forward to great things from the 2021 Fellows, and I can't wait to celebrating their successes next year. Thank you so much, everyone.
Hi, I'm Matt Johnson. I work at the Center for Science in the Schools at Penn State University, and I chair the awards committee for ARIS. It is my privilege to present the ARIS Awards for both 2020 and 2021. As an emerging professional organization, we think it's important to recognize those in our field that are doing exemplary work. I will now describe ARIS's 4 awards and their criteria. First, the Impact Innovations Award recognizes recipients for developing new approaches to and strategies for engagement and in translation of research. This means the winners adopt and innovate methods and approaches to public service, outreach, and engagement by institutions and organizations. Winners in this category are recognized for demonstrating leadership in the development and scaling of new policies, processes, and tactics for achieving social impact, including innovative approaches to engagement, translation, measurement, and other strategic areas. The next award is the Impact Goals Award. Awards in this category are based on advancing the research impact goals identified by the National Science Foundation and described in the NABI Guiding Principles document. In establishing broader impacts criterion, NSF noted 9 potential types of impact outcomes. They are inclusion, STEM education, science literacy, well-being, STEM workforce development, partnerships, national security, economic competitiveness, and infrastructure. Winners in this category are recognized for significantly advancing engagement and translation of research to public benefit in one or more of these particular areas. The third award type is the Enduring Achievement Award. This ARIS Award honors a body of achievements over time. Individual researchers or practitioners, collaborations or organizations may have worked over a period of time in undertaking research engagement or translation for impact. Award recipients in this category will be individuals or organizations that have demonstrated such long-term achievement or an established body of work. And the last award type is the Broader Impacts Champion Award. This honors individuals or organizations that have contributed significantly to establishing or advancing the NSF Broader Impacts criterion, or contributed significantly to the realization of the vision of broader impacts as scientific research. BI champions have played a role in defining and implementing the consideration of BI as a part of research and have contributed to the building of a professional community around this consideration. I would like to thank those who volunteered to serve on this committee with me. They are Lori Von Edgerin from Michigan State, John Saltmarsh from University of Massachusetts at Boston, Nathan Meyer from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, Beth Ambos, a former executive officer for the Council on Undergraduate Research, and Mike Jacobson from Binghamton University. First, I'll announce the 2020 winners. The first award is the 2020 Enduring Achievement Award. The recipients are from the Portal to the Public. For over a decade, their Portal to the Public has supported public engagement professionals and organizations' design of high-impact, sustainable programs that support scientists committed to social impact. Emily Kalnicki from the Minnesota Zoo points out that the robust, research-supported approach to Portal to the Public makes science communication accessible, fun, and approachable, not only for the scientists, but for the broader public. Our next award is the 2020 Impact Innovation Award, which goes to the Center for Educational Networks and Impacts from Virginia Tech. They work to inspire youth by employing place-based educational practices in conjunction with hands-on learning opportunities. By providing free charter bus service and lunch to Title I schools from high-poverty areas in Virginia, they help broaden participation in STEM events like the Virginia Tech Science Festival. And the final recipient from the 2020 ARIS Awards is Matthew Wilkins, who received the Impact Goals Award. His nomination is based on work in science communication at both the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, where he initiated a science communication conference, and for his work in Nashville with the public schools and as a postdoc at the Vanderbilt Center for Science Outreach. His nominator, Dai Shizuka, says of Matt, he engages people through many different channels, including education, outreach, social media, video production, and writing. What is most exceptional about his work to date is how he uses the strengths he developed as a researcher in evolutionary biology to generate new types of content that engages students and the public. He does not shy away from engaging in challenging and controversial issues. In fact, he embraces these challenges as a way to draw people in and improve their science literacy. Congratulations to all the 2020 award winners. The first award this year is the Impact Innovation Award. It goes to a pair of graduate students from Michigan State, Chelsea Voodoo and Daniel Fuentes, who have already demonstrated an aptitude for BI work in the field of science communication. After their first year of graduate school, they founded SciComm, a student-run organization focused on promoting speaking, art, policy, outreach, and science writing. They do this to empower students and other young professionals to communicate about complex scientific topics in clear and engaging ways. They also host a weekly podcast called Sci-Files and use this as a platform to promote research of other Michigan State students. Giovanna Perfumo says of Chelsea and Daniel, "Rarely do you come across someone talented at big picture ideas, time management, and executing the small details. Chelsea and Daniel have done just that and demonstrated what one can achieve when fueled by your passion." The second award is presented to the collaboration of the University of Montana's Hands-On Science Center Spectrum Discovery Area and the advisory group made up of educators and STEM advocates on the Flathead Reservation known as Sci Nation. This collaborative is focused on ensuring that research benefit occurs through collaborative programming that engages and is co-designed with native STEM role models, including UM faculty, alumni, and STEM practitioners on the Flathead Reservation. This approach creates an infrastructure for lasting impact that is sustainable through the long-standing relationships that have been developed. Shelley Fayant, chairwoman of the Tribal Council of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes, said, "Spectrum and Sci Nation's collaboration has inspired our communities to engage in science in all aspects of their life, both in and out of school, and to be curious about science and the world around them. Sci Nation's efforts help the tribes build essential capacity to prepare today's youth to meet the Flathead Reservation's future workforce needs in fields such as wildlife, natural resources, health, and technology. By empowering Sci Nation to partner with the tribes and Spectrum, they ensure that these efforts are culturally relevant, community-based, and high impact." Next, we award the 2021 Impact Goals Award to Courtney Price of Ohio State. Courtney is an educational and outreach specialist for the Arabidopsis Biological Resource Center and the Center for Applied Plant Sciences, and is also the graduate program coordinator for translational plant sciences at Ohio State. In these roles, she works towards the goals of improving STEM education, increasing public science literacy, and broadening participation. One such program, STEM Professionals Reaching Out, or SPROUT, supports cohorts of graduate students, postdocs, and faculty in their development as science communicators. In her nomination package, Jory Weintraub from the Duke Broader Impacts Resource Center closes the letter with, "I could imagine no one who has demonstrated greater talent, passion, creativity, enthusiasm, commitment, and dedication to broader impacts throughout her career, and as such, I'm pleased and honored to nominate her. This year, we awarded 2 Impact Goals Awards, and the second is awarded to Zachary Constan. Constan has been Outreach Coordinator for the National Superconducting Cyclotron Laboratory and the Facility for Rare Isotope Beams at Michigan State University. In this role, he facilitates tours, summer camps, public talks, science festivals, and exhibits. His tireless work with other outreach providers increases the infrastructure for other high-quality programs to increase the impact of the nuclear physics research conducted in his facilities. One high school teacher described Zach's impact on his teaching in this way. Previously, classwork may have often included worksheets and a conceptual approach to delivering content. Through his educational outreach and incorporating resources provided in his seminars, students now work with physical models, smashing atoms in our classroom particle accelerator, exploring radioactive elements, and gathering data while using Geiger counters. We play isotope bingo and learn about nucleosynthesis of gold in a supernova as a more interactive and engaging activity to reinforce learning outcomes. The 2021 Enduring Achievement Award is presented to the USA National Phenology Network. For the past 12 years, the resources developed by USA NPN have impacted both the scientific community and the general public. Nature's Notebook is used by professors and instructors from over 100 institutes of higher education and K-12 teachers to engage learners in the exploration of phenology and its relationship with climate change. As a result, hundreds of local or regional phenology monitoring groups have been established and have contributed to a highly consequential citizen science project. In addition, their consistent appearances in public media describing phenology and the impact on our daily lives, like gardening and allergies, support an increase in public science literacy. Esperanza Stansikoff of the University of Maine Cooperative Extension says, "I cannot think of a more worthy and incredibly important organization than the USA NPN. They have been champions throughout the country and beyond, consistently developing resources that the Nature's Notebook citizen science programs need, bringing us all together to share knowledge and assisting us in our efforts to increase climate action and data generation for needed research." The last 3 awards for 2021 are the Broader Impact Champion Awards. The first recipient is Kekuzumi. Kei has held several positions related to BI over the years. He is currently Chief of Staff of the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. He was a Senior Advisor in Science Policy at AAAS, was Assistant Director for Federal Research and Development, and Senior Advisor to the Director for the National Science and Technology Council. In these roles, he has become a leading authority on the federal budget, federal support for research and development, on science and technology policy, and on research and development funding data. As an expert in these areas, he has worked to develop, implement, and coordinate federal research and development policy with several governmental agencies, the White House, and the National Science and Technology Council. He has continually fought to ensure that broader impacts were given equal footing to intellectual merit as a part of the NSF merit review process. He has also advocated for other federal agencies to include assessment of their BI in their award review process. His commitment to BI is also demonstrated through his service on the ARIS Council of Experts and through his leadership within AAAS on the societal impacts of science and engineering. He also advocates for broadening female and underrepresented minorities' participation in STEM fields and for advancing the interests and contributions of the LGBTQ+ community within the scientific community.
I've been working in science policy for about 27 years now, and I've long been a champion of the full inclusion of the broader impacts criterion in National Science Foundation's review processes. And I've also been a champion of making sure that broader impacts are considered in all scientific research. Well, public engagement is so important because ultimately, we do science, and the federal government funds science because of its impact on the public. scientific research helps us solve the challenges that we face as a nation, whether it's understanding new frontiers of knowledge or tackling societal problems such as dealing with the global climate change crisis, or providing jobs and a sustainable future for all Americans. And the only way we're going to have a public that benefits from science is if we engage the public in designing scientific research, participating in research, and making sure that they benefit from scientific research. Well, I would like the ARIS community to help engage the broader community of the public in understanding that, research, if done well, has impact. And we can all work together to make sure that it has impact. I mean, starting with federal agencies. So let's start narrowly with federal agencies. NSF has been a champion in broader impacts, but other science agencies have the opportunity to follow where NSF has led. I also think there's an opportunity for involving people from all walks of life in making scientific and technological decisions, whether it's the use of artificial intelligence in technologies, or deciding what the next space mission is going to be and to where, to ensuring that people are engaged in some important decisions on quantum information science and how that's going to be used. And those decisions can get made with public participation long before any of those technologies actually come to fruit in the marketplace. 10 years from now, I want researchers and students from all walks of life throughout America. And by that, I mean from throughout America's geography, from all races and ethnicities, a balanced composition of genders, participating in research. And I want to see 10 years from now, a community of students, learners, and community members partnering with researchers in places like universities to design research projects that meaningfully affect their lives. And I want the results of that research to be shared with communities far and wide, and that research to inform decisions that cities make about how they're going to adapt to climate change, that companies will use to decide what jobs and skills to invest in the marketplace. And I want research results to be used to inform how we tackle challenges like our security challenges from abroad, including and from within. I want research being used in collaboration with companies to make our cyber systems more secure. Really treasured the relationships that I've built through my work at ARIS, work at NSF, and work with the broader impacts community. I think it's a team sport. Science policy is a team sport. Broader impacts is a team sport. And I'm just delighted to have so many people joining the team and being an active part of the team. And so I want to say thank you for recognizing me as part of the team. And I don't claim to be a leader in the team, but I do appreciate the jersey letting me know that I am a part of the team, and I appreciate the plaque and the award, because it's a recognition that what we are all doing together, working toward broader impacts from scientific research, is important, and it requires all of our efforts working together. It's going to take all of us, not only to achieve broader impacts in society, but also to make sure that scientific research really does meet the challenges we all face as a nation.
The second BI Champion Award goes to Alan Leshner, the CEO Emeritus of AAAS and the former executive publisher of the journal Science. He served in these capacities for 13 years, and before that, he had key roles as the director of the National Institute on Drug Abuse and deputy director of the National Institutes of Mental Health. In addition, he held several senior positions at NSF in biological, behavioral, and social sciences, science policy, and science education. He received the Presidential Distinguished Executive Rank Award in 1996, was appointed to the NSB in 2003 and serves on the advisory committee to the director of NIH. Related to BI, Alan sought to position AAAS at the intersection of science and society to ensure that advances in science and technology benefit all people. So he built structures within AAAS to support this goal. In 2004, he established the Center for Public Engagement with Science and Technology. His efforts also led to an annual science festival, communications campaigns about societally relevant topics like climate change and artificial intelligence, an ambassadorship program that provides training, professional development, and support for scientists and engineers interested in science communication and public engagement. Since his retirement, he continues to be a BI champion and serves as an advisor to the Leadership Institute for Public Engagement with Science that bears his name, and chairs the NASEM Committee on Graduate STEM Education for the 21st Century. Throughout his career, Alan has demonstrated a commitment to ensuring that research benefits society, and it is for these reasons that he is awarded the BI Champion Award.
So I've been somebody who throughout his scientific career has been interested in making sure that my own work interfaces with society. That is, I've been concerned with what I would call the importance, the relevance, and the impact of my work on the rest of society. And certainly after I left the scientific bench, all of my work has been concerned with the intersection of science and the rest of society. And although some scientists may do their work only because it's interesting to them, many scientists are concerned that their work be both useful and be used. Now, I spent 12 years on the National Science Board that oversees the National Science Foundation, and I was asked to chair the committee that reviewed the review criteria that NSF uses in selecting grants. And they are the excellence of the science per se and the broader impacts. So my accomplishment in that domain was actually to have a hand in ensuring that that criterion would last, and secondly, that it would be broad enough that it would give scientists the opportunity to select among the cafeteria of ways in which they could think about and implement the broader impacts of their research. So the old mindset about communicating with the rest of society was really that all scientists needed to do was to communicate at the rest of the public, to teach them. And there's something called the myth of public communication that says if we just educate them about the issue, they'll do whatever we say. And the truth is, they won't. People need to be engaged in a dialogue. So instead of communicating at people, we encourage communicating with people. And that's not so easy for scientists. Scientists have had to learn how to listen because scientists are used to being teachers and they like teaching other people. But that's not enough. It's more important to have a genuine dialogue, to understand and respect the concerns of the rest of society and see how you can work through any great disagreements or any great conflict that there is. I would like to see the broader impacts community, those people who worry about this issue, to make sure that we keep the concept, the definition as broad as we can. That is, different scientists' work will have the potential for different kinds of impacts or different potentials for impact. When I first started hearing about this issue, it was really very controversial, and many people in the scientific community were horrified that the National Science Foundation was going to use this criterion. And then over time, as NSF has done this more and more, and frankly, as more academic institutions have built support systems to help their faculty members work through these broader impacts issues, it's become more and more part of the culture. So what I would like to see 10 years from now is it's assumed that you will worry about the broader impacts of your work. This isn't a narcissistic enterprise. This is an enterprise that is supported by the public and therefore has an obligation to work toward the betterment of humanity, and to be sure that you're at least worrying about what role you're playing in the betterment of humanity, of society. This is a tough issue for people who have spent their whole lives buried in a laboratory, working at the bench. And so it's important to bring people into a conversation about broader impacts, just like we want to engage with the public about controversial scientific issues. So what my advice would be is, this is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Think about how your work can have a broader impact, or you as a scientist can make a greater contribution. The older generation was very reluctant about these issues and felt they should not be distracted from the center of their work. But what we have found is that young scientists actually want their work to be relevant and useful and used. And therefore, I would say to people entering this field, this is a positive thing. This is not as hard a sell as you may fear. So one important lesson that I've learned over the years is that fame and glory is not such a big deal. And secondly, there's always somebody more famous and somebody more glorious than you are. Therefore, one of the best reinforcers for a scientist is to understand the broader implications of their work. It really feels good to believe that you are in fact having a positive effect, a positive impact on the rest of society.
And Brooke Smith is the director of the Kavli Foundation's Public Engagement with Science program and the third winner of the 2021 BI Champion Award. Prior to that, she served for 15 years as the executive director of Compass, building the organization into a leading nonprofit dedicated to empowering scientists to be effective communicators and to engage in the public discourse about the environment. She orchestrated a series of national workshops called Support Systems for Scientists' Communication and Engagement in 2017 and 2018. This collaborative effort helped identify and enable key leaders in science communications, STEM graduate education, science professional studies, funding organizations, university leadership, and BI professionals. Her energy and passion in this leveraged multiple philanthropic foundations to invest money and energy to the work, and has resulted in the development of SciComm Trainers Network, LISTEN, which is the Leaders in Science and Technology Engagement Networks, in the 2019 convocation called Re-envisioning Promotion and Advancement for STEM Faculty, Aligning Incentives with Values, which was held by the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine. Her nomination letter says that Brooke brings a grace and humility to her work that empowers others to charge ahead. Because her focus is on supporting others, she is the kind of leader who can easily go unrecognized. We hope you will consider Brooke for the ARIS BI Champion Award in 2021. We can think of no leader more worthy of this honor.
So my whole career has been focused on the relationship between science and society in some form or fashion. So I think my relationship with broader impacts is that it's a fundamental characteristic of my work, profession, and career. I have always been focused on, attracted to, and connected to not just the science itself, but that connective tissue of how science sits within society, the relationship between society and science, how society influences science, how science influences society, and how we can do more to strengthen that relationship. I actually think that one of the things that I'm most proud of in the world of broader impacts is what I've been able to do since joining the Kavli Foundation 3 years ago. I have felt like and have been a spokesperson for the need to think more about the infrastructure that supports how we connect people with science, which of course broader impacts and broader impacts professionals aim to do. Having the luxury to be at the Kavli Foundation, where we're committed to thinking about fields and committed to thinking about context of the future, has really allowed me to bring some of the thinking that I've thought has been needed to strengthen how broader impacts work, the profession of people who work in broader impacts, so it can be more effective. So in some ways, I think one of my greatest accomplishments and one of the things I'm most proud of is being able to have a position that can bring that broad contextual thinking to how to strengthen an entire field and community, and have been able to do that with members of ARIS and other leaders. And it's been remarkable to work with the passionate folks who are part of ARIS, passionate folks who are part of engaging the public in science, to bring more attention and connectivity, and hopefully in the future, more resources to how we do broader impacts. I think that engaging the public in science is part of how we should do science, part of how excellent science is done. Science is part of society, not separate from society. I think we hear a lot that there's science and society, but I think those of us who work in this area know that it's science within society. Without public engagement with science, we're not maximizing what we want from science. And one of the remarkable and inspiring things about the ARIS community is it's not just a place to support each other, to do great work in everyone's day jobs, but they come together to think about what's the whole of our community and how can we move this forward. For me, I think the critical things for engaging the public in science in the next few years that we all need to be paying attention to, that ARIS is already starting to think about, include things like how we can ensure that the professionals that work in this space are recognized, valued, and have the professional development and support that they need to find jobs in this area and to learn about how to do their jobs well. I think also the ARIS community needs to be thinking about how to be a collective voice for the value of broader impacts so that we can move past one-off projects, very modest funding, project-based funding that comes and goes, to a more sustainable funding infrastructure to ensure that the people and work that happens in broader impacts and in engaging the public in science is something that's supported more sustainably. And lastly, I think ARIS working on ensuring that we are creating diverse and inclusive environments for how we engage people in science, for who we engage in science, and for who is doing that engaging of people in science continues to be a top priority of all of us working in this field. What would broader impacts look like in 10 years if I was in charge of the world? Broader impacts would be part of how we think about science. It wouldn't be an add-on. It wouldn't be something that's done project by project, grant by grant. It's an integral part of science. It's not something that we're advocating for to tack on. It's when we think about the entire complexion of science and how you do science, broader impacts is part of that. To me, that means that the folks who are professionals in achieving broader impacts, the scholars who study how broader impacts are done and what the impact are, and the researchers doing science in the world are all working collectively together from the beginning of research throughout the process of research to after research is done and results are found, to be a collective group that is mutually respected and empowered to collaborate effectively. So I think, in summary, the big thing I see in the next 10 years, if I could rule the world, would be, like I said, broader impacts are part of science, not an add-on to science. It is an incredibly exciting time to be part of the broader impacts community and the public engagement with science field. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the seminal Vannevar Bush report here in the US that set the blueprint for how we do science in this country. Now at 75 years, we have this opportunity to reflect on how we've set structures up that have worked well or that haven't worked well for how we do science. And I think one of the top priorities that many of us have recognized that we need to rethink and give some more attention to is how we've set our structures up to do science to make sure that it includes the public, both in how we do science, who benefits from science, who can have influence in what science is done. And now's the time to rethink that. I would just like to thank the ARIS community for all the work that they do, not just in their individual work every day, but in what they do when they come together to think big and think about how to move all of this forward as a whole community. I have been honored to be part of it. I love joining ARIS meetings, whether virtual or in person. And to receive this award from the ARIS community has been so humbling and honoring. And I just want to thank everybody for the great work that they do and for recognizing the work that I'm doing too. So just thank you so much.
I would like to thank all of the awardees for their tireless work in this field. And I would also like to encourage all of you to consider nominating a worthy colleague next year for an award, or to consider self-nomination. Recognizing the great work being done in our field is important to our organization and important for raising the awareness of the impacts of research on our society. Thank you.